My name is Betty Anderson, and I'm 53 years old. Before I realized it, I became what people refer to as an older woman. After divorcing my ex-husband, Kevin, and becoming a single mother, time seemed to pass even faster. Before I knew it, I had more wrinkles, and my hair had turned gray at the roots. It was tough playing both the roles of a father and a mother on my own, but I have no regrets. The only thing I sometimes wonder is whether my long-estranged younger sister, Emily, is still as youthful and beautiful as she used to be, while I was doing everything I could to protect my son, Sean. Emily is my sister, but since we have a 12-year age gap, she's only 41. The last time I saw her, she was just 13 years old. That was when I went to tell her that I had married Kevin and was expecting our son Sean. I haven't seen her since then. I lived my life believing I'd never see her again, but suddenly, Emily appeared before me. And she wasn't alone. She was with Kevin and visibly pregnant.
Well, you Betty, what brings you to the GYN? Wait, don't tell me you're pregnant at your age. Late pregnancies always result in defective kids, right? By the way, Emily and I are expecting our third child.
Kevin sneered, laughing and holding his stomach. Beside him, Emily, now an adult, was gently cradling her belly as if it were something precious. How are you two even together? And what did you say? Third child?
That's right. When you came to tell us you were pregnant with Sean, I fell in love with Kevin at first sight. I decided then and there I'd make him mine.
But you were 13 at the time. Kevin is a year older than me. Did he really go after a middle schooler? I said it out loud, but the thought was so horrifying it gave me chills. Marrying someone 13 years younger, he's insane. Kevin brushed off my words with a laugh.
Of course not. I waited until Emily was 18. Once we got married, I knew she'd be with me forever, so waiting wasn't a big deal.
Come on, Betty. I get that you're upset, but stop making baseless accusations. Mom and Dad were totally on board when we told them we were getting married.
Emily said that and laughed. Watching her smile, I realized her rotten personality from childhood hadn't changed at all, and it left me feeling exasperated. You've always been like this. Mom and Dad only ever cared about you. My mom had been divorced once before and remarried. Emily was the child from her second marriage. While my stepfather treated me kindly enough, once Emily was born, all his affection shifted entirely to her. I hated it so much that I chose to attend a boarding school when I entered high school, just to get away from them. Of course, I didn't want to burden my parents, so I fully utilized a scholarship program and grants. From there, I continued into college seamlessly and met Kevin, whom I later married.
Oh, poor Betty. You've had all the love from our parents and even your husband taken by me. What do you have left? Didn't Kevin tell you to give up on having kids back then?
My heart skipped a beat. Now that she mentioned it, when I was divorcing Kevin, he told me to give up the baby I was carrying in exchange for hush money. But I didn't want to give up, so I had Sean and raised him on my own. That's why neither these two nor my parents know about Sean's existence.
Well, I guess you're here to give up again, aren't you? Having a baby at over 50? That's crazy, even for you.
Kevin kept smirking at me. I looked at Kevin and sighed. Isn't it just as reckless for you too? Do you have any idea how risky it is to give birth past 40, even if you've already had kids before?
It's not like I need advice from you, Betty. If I want to have this baby and I can, then what's the problem? And you know what? Kids are adorable. Not that you'd know, since you've never had one yourself.
Emily's every word was calculated to irritate me, and I couldn't even muster the energy to argue. She's always thought she was the center of the world, the most important and righteous person around. I've never seen you at this hospital before. Why is your belly so big? Don't tell me you didn't even realize you were pregnant. Were you debating whether to have the baby until the last minute? Even so, judging by how far along Emily was, it seemed there was no choice but to deliver.
You're so nosy. Fine, I'll tell you. The hospital where I had my first 2 kids turned me away. They said I was too old. So I searched everywhere and finally found this place. They said they'd take care of me all the way through delivery, but someone your age. Well, that's gotta be impossible.
Emily laughed, sounding genuinely entertained. Kevin was also grinning smugly, clearly amused.
I'm really grateful to Dr. Anderson. This is my second appointment with him, and he's so young yet trustworthy. He'll be doing the C-section himself on the day of the delivery.
Emily smiled while caressing her belly, completely unaware. For the first time, I smiled back at her. Let me introduce you. That doctor is my son. Both Emily and Kevin froze, their eyes wide with shock.
What? There's no way you could have a child that old. And how could you even have a child? Didn't Kevin tell you to give it up?
Who said I gave up completely? Sure, he told me to, but I never actually reported back that I did. As I said this, Kevin turned pale.
No way. I gave you $10,000. Why didn't you give it up? How did you even plan to raise a kid?
Think about it, Kevin. I had it all planned out. That's why I divorced you, had the baby, and raised him. Didn't I just say the surgeon is my son? I even made sure he got a good education. Kevin was still pale, barely processing what I was saying.
There's no way Dr. Anderson is your son. He's genuinely kind and reliable, nothing like you.
Emily shouted just as the nurse called her name from the consultation room. There you go, you're being called. Why don't you go inside and ask? Or should I come with you? I'd love to introduce my precious son to you both. Emily hesitated, glaring at me, clearly reluctant. The nurse approached with a puzzled look and gently urged her forward.
Fine, I'll go in.
Grumbling, Emily stood up and entered the consultation room. Kevin and I followed closely behind her.
Hi, Emily. How are you feeling today?
A cheerful expression appeared on Sean's face as he came into view. Although he had brought me lunch a few times at this GYN clinic, it was the first time I'd seen him working, and it felt refreshing. Then Sean noticed me and looked surprised.
Wait, why are you here, Mom? Are you friends with these people?
Hearing Sean's words, Emily tilted her head back, staring at the ceiling. The fact that the trusted doctor she admired just called me Mom must have been shocking.
No way. I've never even heard that name before. Did you remarry?
No, it's not like that. Anderson is my biological father's last name. After divorcing Kevin, I went through some paperwork at the court and decided to use Anderson again. I haven't remarried. Hearing this, Kevin's face turned red with anger.
You've got to be kidding me. You two lied to us this whole time?
Kevin shouted loudly.
Lied? What do you mean? I just asked if you knew my mom and Emily. That's all.
Don't act so innocent. You knew all along, didn't you?
Kevin glared at Sean. The only one who truly didn't understand what was happening was Sean.
No, I really have no idea. Did I do something wrong?
Kevin grabbed Sean by the collar.
Your mother is my ex-wife. And you're my son.
Sean froze in shock. Up until now, he had assumed this man was just the husband of a patient. To learn that he was his mom's ex-husband and his biological father was unbelievable. I told Sean that his father disappeared, so of course he's shocked. I never thought they'd meet again in such a way. Watching Sean's stunned expression, I silently justified myself.
You were never supposed to be born. When I divorced Betty, no one celebrated your existence.
As soon as Kevin spat those words, Sean's face turned pale.
What? I wasn't supposed to be born? No one celebrated me? That can't be true, right? And you being my father, that has to be a joke, right?
Sean looked at me with pleading eyes. Unable to say yes or no, I averted my gaze.
Even you, Mom? Are you ignoring me too? Then, what was the point of all the years I endured?
His voice trembled like that of a frightened child.
I don't care how you've lived until now. Write a referral to another hospital immediately. I can't leave Emily in your hands.
Wait a minute, isn't that unreasonable? You've been to so many hospitals, and this was the only one that would take you. Do you really think switching now is fair to Emily?
Shut up. This is none of your business. Emily, let's go. We don't have time to waste on these people. Your health comes first.
Kevin grabbed Emily's arm in agitation, but Emily, pale-faced, didn't move.
What are you doing, Emily? Let's go now.
Hold on. Something's not right.
What would a kid like you know? You're probably just another quack trying to scare us for no reason.
Kevin turned red as he shouted at Sean. But Sean stared back at him, unflinching.
Sure, I may be young, but I passed the national medical exam on my first attempt. I've endured being looked down on by classmates with parents and during internships, but the fact that I'm here today proves my capabilities and my worth.
When Sean decided to become a doctor, he was still in elementary school. He took care of me tirelessly when I was down with a cold. From that moment on, Sean kept saying, "I want to help people in pain," and worked hard to pass the medical school entrance exam on his first try. However, even after getting in, Sean's path wasn't easy. Surrounded by wealthy kids and people with connections to doctors, he worked hard in a world full of privilege, relying on no one but himself. That's why being called a rookie stings so much for him. Even in tough situations every day, Sean never gave up. And that determination seemed to remain steadfast even when faced with Kevin.
Don't act all high and mighty. What do you even know? I've been with Emily for decades. No one knows her better than I do.
Kevin glared at Sean, unwilling to back down. Yet Sean didn't avert his gaze from Kevin.
And yet you told my mom to give up on me and to divorce her?
For a moment, Kevin seemed thrown off, but quickly grabbed at Sean.
Watch your mouth. I'm your father, so don't think you can talk to me like that.
Technically, you were my father. You only just acknowledged my existence today. Regardless, let me examine Emily. Something seems off about her condition.
When Sean reached out toward Emily, Kevin slapped his hand away.
Don't touch her. Listen, Emily is Betty's sister. That makes her your aunt. You're the one making her suffer.
Sean froze, shocked. Finding out that his father was here with a new wife was already shocking, but to learn that the woman was his mom's sister, it was almost too much to take in. I felt a wave of guilt toward Sean, but he seemed too overwhelmed to process it.
It doesn't matter to me anymore who you remarried or whether your wife is my aunt. My only focus is to give the best treatment to the patient in front of me.
Don't get cocky. Either bring in a more experienced doctor or write us a referral to a larger hospital.
Are you refusing treatment from a doctor offering to help? Then no, I won't write a referral. Please leave. And if you continue causing a scene, I'll call the police for the sake of the other patients.
The police? Go ahead, call them. You'd really turn in your own father to the cops? Guess that proves you're Betty's son. An ungrateful brat, just like her.
Don't insult my mom. All of this is your fault, falling for your wife's sister. You're the one who ruined everything. How dare you call yourself a father?
Hearing the shouting, a nurse peeked nervously into the consultation room. Both of you need to stop. Sean, you're scaring everyone. And Kevin, enough with the yelling. You haven't changed a bit since back then.
Shut up. You only knew me for a few years. Don't act like you know everything about me.
Kevin's shouting was interrupted by Emily's weak voice.
Wait, I don't feel right.
Emily then collapsed unconscious.
What? Emily? Hey, stay with me.
Kevin rushed to her side, shaking her shoulders.
Stop it. You can't just shake her without knowing what's wrong.
Don't touch her. If you treat her, she's as good as dead.
Kevin and Sean kept arguing. But anyone could see Emily's condition was critical. This isn't the time for this. Kevin, Sean is a doctor. Sure, you may know Emily well, but do you think you can save her in this state? If you care about her, let Sean handle it.
You're still saying that? I'm telling you, I don't trust him. If anything happens to Emily, can you take responsibility?
Hearing Kevin's words, I realized just how little I was valued. When I was with Kevin, he told me to give up on having a child. Kevin kept yelling about what would happen if something went wrong with Emily. That difference in treatment was the gap between how he saw me and how he saw Emily.
I can't say everything will definitely be okay, but I'll do my best. I'll do everything I can to save both the baby and Emily. So please, step aside.
Sean was determined to save the life in front of him. What I could do was help Sean focus his efforts towards saving my sister, Emily. Honestly, I wanted to say, I don't care about her, but the baby wasn't at fault, and I couldn't abandon Emily either. Kevin, please step aside. Sean is your son, and he's a doctor. He worked hard to study and pass his exams to finally achieve his dream. Please, just trust him. Looking Kevin firmly in the eye, I made my plea. Kevin froze, his lips trembling, but his anger seemed to subside.
Thanks, Mom. Emily, can you hear me?
Sean rushed to Emily and immediately began treatment. The nurse and I held onto Kevin's arm to keep him from interfering.
If anything happens to Emily, I'll never forgive either of you.
Are you still saying that? Sean is doing everything he can to save both Emily and the baby. Don't you feel even a little gratitude or hope? Kevin's stubbornness, even after 28 years, left me exasperated. He was always like this, even when we were dating. That stubbornness was the reason he demanded a divorce without even listening to my opinion. Being a single mom was tough, but at least I didn't have to deal with his stubbornness anymore. Emily must have a lot of patience to put up with him. I couldn't help but chuckle inwardly, thinking that Kevin must truly love Emily. As Kevin calmed down, Emily stirred, her eyes fluttering open after the treatment.
Hey, are you okay? Did anything weird happen to you?
Weird? I just performed normal procedures. Most likely, she fainted due to dizziness, which can be expected given her age.
Kevin turned pale and glared at Sean.
Emily, let's give up on having this baby. There's no need to risk your life. We already have 2 kids. Let's stop this now.
Emily, who still wasn't fully conscious, slowly sat up and glared at Kevin.
What are you talking about? Are you seriously telling me to give up, just like you told Betty?
I mean, what choice do we have? You could end up like this again at any moment because of the pregnancy. As your husband, I can't accept that risk.
You've got to be kidding. Just a moment ago, you were excited about having a 3rd child. Now you're just scared, aren't you? You're afraid you won't live to see the child turn 18 because you'll be 74 by then.
That's not it. I'm worried about your health.
Enough already. Stop pretending you're worried about me. You're just trying to protect yourself. I hate that about you.
Listening to Emily and Kevin argue, I could understand both their perspectives. Even though she's 12 years younger than me, giving birth at 41 is high risk. No matter how experienced a mother she is, the situation is still challenging. That's why every other hospital had turned her away.
Fine. I never realized you were this unreasonable. If you're so determined to have this baby, then do it on your own. I'm done. If you insist on going through with this, I'll divorce you.
Wait, Kevin, isn't that going too far? I don't know how old your kids are, but you can't make such a big decision so easily. Emily, you need to calm down too. You both need to talk this through.
This has nothing to do with you, Betty. If he wants a divorce, let him. I'm fine on my own. But I'll make sure to get plenty of alimony and child support.
Did you hit your head when you fainted? Why should I pay if you're the one who insists on having this baby? If you're so independent, handle it all yourself.
The argument grew too heated, so I decided to separate them. Kevin was escorted to the waiting area by a male nurse. I stayed behind to talk to Emily.
What? I don't have anything to say to you, sis. You probably hate me anyway for stealing Kevin, right? But I don't even want him anymore, so I can give him back to you. Just don't forget, I'll keep most of the money he brings in.
Emily sulked, refusing to meet my eyes. It wasn't just awkwardness, she probably didn't know how to face me now. Emily, Forget about Kevin. He never really loved me from the start. That's why he got distracted by someone as young and beautiful as you. But don't say you don't want him. You need to face this properly. Tears began to roll down Emily's cheeks. I couldn't bring myself to ask why.
Mom, I need to conduct a more detailed examination. Could you step out for a bit?
Sure, please take care of Emily. With that, I left the consultation room and found Kevin pacing in the hallway, tapping his foot impatiently. Looks like I'll need to talk to him too. Sighing, I walked toward Kevin. Like Emily, Kevin avoided making eye contact with me.
What do you want? I don't have anything to say to you. You're just here to whine about the past, right? Don't expect an apology from me.
Can you and your wife stop saying the same thing? It's been 28 years, but even I can still get hurt. I just need to show you something, so come with me. A nearby nurse glanced at me with concern. I gave her a reassuring smile, then grabbed Kevin's arm and got him to stand.
If this is some stupid thing you're dragging me to, I won't let it slide.
Seriously, even now, you're still acting like this? Stop being such a stubborn child and just follow me. We walked through the hospital together. Walking side by side with Kevin like this, it's been 28 years. He's still marching ahead without matching his pace to mine. Or maybe it's just because it's me that he won't bother matching my steps. Watching Kevin's back as he walked slightly ahead, I thought to myself. Eventually, we arrived at the newborn unit.
And what exactly am I supposed to do with this?
No need to be so defensive. Just look. That baby over there. Sean delivered him. It was a breech birth, so it was tough. And that one, the mother was tiny, so Sean said it was a challenge. That one, and that one over there. They were all delivered by Sean. They're all unique, even though they were born in the same unit, around the same time.
Yeah, I know. I'm a father to 2 kids myself. What? Do you think I wouldn't understand something that obvious?
Then try to understand Emily's feelings. She's been carrying her child for months, and it's precious to her. Hearing just give it up out of nowhere, how could she not be devastated?
But I'm worried about her health.
Then maybe you could have chosen better words? When you've calmed down, come back to the room. Sean will explain everything. Turning my back to the newborn unit, I started walking toward the consultation room. When I glanced back, Kevin was silently staring at the babies in the nursery. Back in the consultation room, Sean and Emily were deep in conversation.
That's why I think you should transfer to a private hospital. I'll write a referral for you. They have better facilities, and I'm sure your husband will agree.
Sean looked visibly uncomfortable. It was clear that calling Kevin your husband still felt unnatural to him. Emily listened in silence, and that's when Kevin re-entered the room.
The private hospital? I'm not paying for something that expensive.
Kevin, are you seriously still saying that? Don't you care about Emily? You were just demanding a referral earlier.
Don't care. If she insists on having this baby, she can figure it out herself. If you two want Emily to have this baby, you can pay for it.
With those harsh words, Kevin walked out of the consultation room. Emily, left behind, lifted her head and looked at Sean.
Please write the referral. I'll figure things out with him.
Sean looked surprised for a moment, but quickly nodded.
Understood. I'll get it ready. I hope you have a healthy baby.
He spoke warmly, glancing at Emily's belly with a kind expression. For Sean, the child in Emily's belly was technically his half-sibling. His wish for the baby's health was undoubtedly sincere. As Emily left the consultation room, I stepped out as well. Kevin was nowhere to be seen in the waiting room. Emily, are you really okay?
I don't know. But I have to protect this baby no matter what. Even if Kevin says to leave me, I won't let him.
Emily smiled softly as she sat on a chair in the waiting room. Seeing her determination, there was nothing more I could say. After delivering Sean's lunch to a nurse, I left the hospital. A few months later, Sean told me about what happened with Emily and her family after he returned home from work.
Emily had a C-section at the private hospital and delivered the baby, but she disappeared right around the time she was supposed to be discharged.
Really? What about the hospital bills?
Apparently, she didn't pay, and she gave the hospital a fake address. They contacted me to ask where to send the bill. Should I tell them?
Well, I don't think there's much choice. It's not like they'll just let it slide. You should go ahead and give them the information.
Got it. I'll let the hospital know.
I wondered if Emily had been unable to convince Kevin. The private hospital quickly visited Emily's actual address after Sean provided it.
They didn't divorce, it seems. The two of them are taking care of the baby together. Kevin apparently told the hospital to send the bill to us instead.
Sean gave a wry smile.
He said since I offered to deliver the baby, but couldn't, it's my responsibility, and I should pay the bill.
How ridiculous. Has he forgotten everything he's done? Don't worry about it, Sean. You didn't do anything wrong. You made the right decisions, and there's no reason to feel guilty. Thankfully, Kevin and Emily didn't know where we lived. Even if they tried to visit, we could just turn them away. A few months later, while walking around town, I spotted Kevin. He wasn't wearing a suit, but dressed like a factory worker. It wasn't clear whether he'd quit his old job and switched careers or was working part-time. With 3 kids, one of them a newborn, and a family of 5 to support, life likely wasn't easy for him. When I told Sean about seeing Kevin, he looked at me with concern.
Mom, are you really okay with how things turned out?
What are you talking about? When I divorced Kevin, I was determined to raise you on my own. I knew as long as I had you, I'd be happy. Seeing you healthy is all I need to be content. Sean had overcome countless hardships. I decided to continue supporting Sean to keep his smile.